Greetings. Welcome. This is Queen Elle from QueenElle79. Today's video we will be discussing another planetary transit. Also, we'll be discussing the new moon. So stay tuned if you're interested in hearing more about all of the astrological changes that we have coming up, okay? Now, again, like I always give the disclaimer, if you see me looking over, it's because I'm looking at my planner. I always keep lots of notes and just like to stay on task and on track because I can get a bit wordy. I love talking to you. So to start off, we will have the new moon in Taurus. That is taking place specifically on the 22nd. That's a Tuesday, so that's the new moon. And if you've watched my previous new moon video, you'll know that the new moon is, as it sounds, it's a time for fresh starts. It's a time to set your intentions for the next lunar cycle. And you can set your intentions through meditation. I like to write them down. I journal daily. So it's a great time to jot down those intentions of basically the plans that you have for yourself and affirmations for things that you hope to accomplish throughout the next lunar cycle. So that takes place on the 22nd of April. And then along with that taking place on the 22nd, Pluto will be quintile Chiron. Now, in another video, I discussed just touching on the quincunx as one of the aspects of the astrological chart. So another one is quintile. Now, quintile, it's another geometrical term, but quintile is, as the quint part being the root of that word, it is when you divide the astrological chart, that 360-degree circle, into 5, and then you have the quints basically. So each fifth of that chart is called a quintile. Now, when planets are quintile with each other, it combines two different aspects that there may be throughout your chart. One of them is a trine. Now, when planets are trine, and so I'm going to keep this pretty high level. Some of these terms may go right over your head, as they did mine when I started my research into astrology. And I will do a video, I promise, on the different aspects and just to make some sense of it, okay? But just briefly, quintile, it is a combination of trine, which represents the areas that you're gifted in, the areas that are truly special to you, uniquely special to you. Those are it's that type of aspect in your chart. And also opposition, which as it sounds, it's some planets in your chart that are opposing each other, where there's a conflict. Now, the combination, what I like about the quintile aspect is the combination between trine and opposition. It's an area of opportunity. It's an area where you can identify, you're able to identify the need for conflict resolution, and you're able to actually work on it. So that's where quintile works in your chart. So with Pluto being quintile Chiron on the 22nd, what that means for us, and I love the synchronicity. I love when these planetary transits align with certain lunar phases, because I feel like it's just another area of opportunity. Like I said, that new moon, it is an area of opportunity for you to have a fresh start. So along with that fresh start, what Pluto quintile Chiron means, and just to touch on something too, since I keep throwing that name out. So Pluto, if you're from my era in the 80s, and 90s, Pluto was considered a planet, and that's what it, those of us back then, we were taught that that was a planet. And I know in recent years, my children's generation, they were told that it's not a planet. It was determined to be a dwarf planet. Then some other sources call it a star. So it's still a planet, so to speak, especially as far as astrology goes. So we all know about Pluto. Now, Chiron, you may not have heard of that one before. Chiron is spelled Chiron, Chiron. Now, Chiron has, it's a part of Greek mythology, and it's synonymous with a centaur, so to speak. But as far as astrology goes, Chiron is a comet. Now, it was first identified in the 1970s, and the government deemed it an asteroid, but it's considered a comet now, and it does transit. So there's a placement if you were to go and have your astrological natal or birth chart pulled online. You would see Chiron somewhere within your astrological chart. Chiron represents the wounded healer. So that's what you'll hear Chiron referred to as, the wounded healer. It is representative of your physical healing, your overall well-being, your emotional, spiritual well-being. It's just known as the wounded healer. And so the good thing about that is, yes, it has the word wounded in it, but it's a healer. And so it's an area where you can heal based off of your circumstances. Okay, so that's really important. An important placement on your chart is to see where Chiron is located, because depending on what house Chiron is located, that is an area of opportunity for you. That's an area where you can see healing in your life, depending on where the placement is. Okay. And if you ever have any questions about your own astrological chart, please feel free to reach out to me. I do provide analysis services regarding astrological charts. So reach out to me on Facebook. It's QueenElle79, or send me a personal message on Instagram, and that would be Queen_Elle_79. And I will be happy to be of service to you, okay? Now, again, with regard to Pluto quintile Chiron, so Pluto represents your capacity to change and to grow. It represents your inner growth. So not just growing in the literal sense, but figuratively, it represents your capacity for inner growth. Okay, and so it's very personal to you. And then Chiron, that wounded healer, that's also very personal. Now, with quintile being a way that between those two planetary relations, it is a way for you to identify a conflict and to be able to work through it. The good thing about that happening with Chiron is already known to be the wounded healer. Now, at this time of the year, it just so happens that Chiron is in Aries, and Aries is known for passion. It's a fire sign, and so it's a great opportunity to be passionate about the healing that needs to take place and will take place in your life. Now, Pluto is in Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is known for being responsible, hardworking, tenacious, and the good thing about that is it means that you're hopefully going to be really dedicated to seeing that growth and seeing that healing in your life, whatever area that will be in, okay? Now, with regard to this happening, especially with new moon in Taurus, like I said, it's a time of new beginnings and fresh starts. Now, this is a transformational period, this Pluto quintile Chiron. It's a time for renewal in your life. It's a time to rewire your feelings and your approach on things, and just your overall, I would say, your disposition and your take on your situation. So the area, whatever area you have a need for healing in, whether it's emotional healing, spiritual healing, physical healing, just know that this is a time to rewire your thoughts, rewire your approach to how you handle situations, because it's time to start on a new footing. It's time to sometimes we have to shift our perspective in order to see actual growth and to see ourselves evolve and move through situations, okay? So that's what I would like you to actually set your intentions about, is set your intentions about this growth and this renewal, and identify the areas within you that you have a need for growth and a need for healing. And you can just, through journaling, through meditation, identify ways that you can work through that healing that's necessary. Okay, so I have my cards. This is my Modern Witch Tarot deck, and I like to tap into the cards and see what the spirit guides have to add to the message that they've already given to me to speak to you today, okay? Now, with regard to, again, this new moon in Taurus, as well as Pluto Quintile Chiron, the question that I have first is just what can we expect to help us to work through this need to transform our perspective and to heal in areas that we need healing? What can we expect to help us through that transition? Okay, so the Four of Pentacles. So there's work to be done here. There's work to be done, and also sometimes you have to hold on to something for yourself. You don't have to always put everything out in the forefront. It's great to share with others. It's great to collaborate with others, but sometimes there's some inner work that needs to be done, and it's so personal, it's so deep, it's so private that you need to go within and do that inner work instead of always projecting outward, okay? That's where you'll see the growth that you seek. That's where the healing will begin inside of you and not always on the outside, okay? So that's the first thing. Now, any type of obstacles that we may encounter in actually going through with this transformational time in our lives. Okay, so we have the King of Pentacles. Now, the interesting thing is, on my one of my recent videos that I did, this came up as an obstacle. And it's interesting because, like I said in the other video, I really like this card. So the King of Pentacles is about, as you know, you can defer or infer rather from it being a king, you know, court card, that this is a position of power. This is like a boss. This is a master. So this means that you're mastering your work, your craft. However, with this being an obstacle, sometimes we get so, I don't know, we get in the mode of, you know, I've got this, I'm already here, I've arrived, to the point that we're not able to allow ourselves to be open to grow even more. And so you might think that you have everything covered. You might see this video and think, you know what, I don't think I need to heal in any areas. I'm good. But I'm here to tell you there is healing to be done. And so I'm not sure if it has to do with, your past. I'm not sure if there's something that you have, you've kind of covered up, or just buried underneath everything else that's going on that you have not addressed. But there is an area for growth here. There's an area that needs to be healed here, and it's okay to do that. You have free reign to do that, and you'll be even better for it. You might feel like I'm good now, but you'll be even better once you get through that healing, okay? So it's just all about changing your perspective again in that transformation. Okay, this is the time for that. Now, finally, this card will represent what we can expect the outcome to be after we do that work, because the work is hard. I'll tell you, the work is hard to actually dig deep into, because you have to acknowledge that there's a need for healing in your life. You have to acknowledge the area that the healing is needed. Sometimes we've buried something so far deep within us that we know that we feel a void. We know that we feel some inner turmoil, but we're not even sure where it's coming from. We're not sure why it's happening. We're not sure like where to start to address it. And so that's where you tap into spirit and you just go inward and you meditate, pray, whatever you do to tap into source and to connect with the spirit guides in the ancestral realm. That's when you do that work, and then it will come to you. You just seek it and it will come out. You ask the questions. Where can I, what are my areas of growth? How can I heal? What needs to be healed within me? And it will come to spirit. It will come to you. And you may be surprised at what comes up, what thoughts come up. A lot of times I'll wake up and there will be thoughts on my mind upon waking that were in my subconscious state that I just wasn't aware of. Memories will come back that maybe I blocked out or repressed because of just how they made me feel at the time that I experienced them. Certain situations that happened even in my adulthood that were brought back to my remembrance that I completely forgot about, and it's because of how traumatic the situation was. So, I mean, it's not really like happy work, but it's great work. It's work that's necessary. The growth that you will sustain, the feeling that you will have of accomplishment once you're on the other side of that work, it definitely makes it worth it. Okay, so the initial sting of it, it will be worth it in the long run. I can assure you of that. Now, so finally, the outcome of doing the work, it's all about doing the work. The outcome of that is the Empress. And so I love this card. I'm not sure if you've seen one of my earliest videos. The Empress is my tarot birth card. And so just quickly, the way that you identify what your birth card is you find out your life path or your birth number, and that's by adding the digits of your birth date. And you just kind of drill down. So mine was 30, and then you add the 3 and the 0, and then that was a 3. And the number 3 with regard to tarot represents or is aligned to the Empress card. Now, just knowing that this is the outcome of doing the work, this is all about being empowered. This is all about success. This is all about abundance. This is all about reigning supreme. This is the divine feminine here. And so it's important to know that this is you on the other side, whether you're male, female, whomever, however you identify. This card signifies that you have accomplished what you set out to do. It signifies that you have been divinely appointed. You have a purpose, a greater purpose. And in order to get to that place, in order to evolve to that place, you have to do the work. You have to do the work. And this is how you get on the other side. This is what you will see once you get on the other side. You just must do the work first, okay? So, Ashe, I pray that as we move into this new moon in Taurus, that you take the time leading up to the new moon. So like I said, the new moon takes place on April 22nd. Take the time to lay that foundation, set those intentions. You can come up with your own new moon rituals for every lunar cycle, but definitely set your intentions. Think of the fresh start that you want to have in different areas. If there are some lingering doubts or any type of conflict that's going on with you, this is the time for a fresh start. Okay, it's a new beginning. And also with Pluto Quintile Chiron, this is the time for healing as well. So it's a fresh start in your life, and I'm really looking forward to it in my own. Now, if you have any questions at all or a need for any type of guidance outside of my messages, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to be of service to you. And also, if you would like me to, as I mentioned, to analyze your astrological chart, the charts are freely available online. You can just do a search in your search engine, and you'll be able to find a website that will provide you with the chart. They're quite in-depth, and so if you have any questions or would like me to analyze your chart for you, to just dig deep and to talk about all of those lunar and planetary transits, please feel free to reach out to me regarding that as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be blessed. This is Queen Elle.